Welcome to Conversations in Mind. This is a space for conscious inquiry, where metaphysics, new thought, and the science of mind meet real life. In a world calling for deeper awareness, we explore the nature of consciousness, the power of thought, and the presence of spirit moving through everyday experience. And now, here are your hosts, Barb Bue and Mark Gilbert.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at Conversations in Mind, where we ask every week, what if our minds are more than just a collection of thoughts, and what if they are a gateway to a whole new way of living? Welcome to the show today. I'm Reverend Barbara. This is my friend, Reverend Mark, and we just kind of get here and talk and seek to demystify some of the study of new thought, the teachings of the old masters and of the new ones, and to ask some good questions. Today's question is the universe or new thought teachings a good excuse for avoiding personal accountability or practical planning? And those are kind of two big different areas, but no. We're done. Short.
In general, I would agree with you, but there are times and places that I think that we can use language like the universe, et cetera, as a meaningful bridge to people. And I can talk. I'll speak more about that in a minute. But what I want to start with, Barb, is I'm going to give you some examples of what I think we're talking about here. So I pulled up some statements here of ones I thought. So when we say the universe guided me to this action. I felt like the universe was pulling me in this direction, so I went with it. The universe made the choice for me.
Right.
The universe will handle it, so I don't have to worry. Everything happens for a reason. The universe has a plan.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's my favorite.
We could go on. And, the universe rewards patience, not effort.
My God.
The universe keeps putting obstacles in my way. So maybe I should just quit and go with the flow. So I don't know. And we could go on and on and on, but we've all used these statements and we've all heard plenty of similar kinds of statements. And so, when you hear them just like without the context, it's easy to say, yes, they're statements that are being misused to sort of like bypass any personal accountability or any kind of responsibility for actions you might want to take that would be a logical sequence towards obtaining whatever it is you're desiring in the world. But at the same time, as I mentioned a minute ago, I've used many of these statements with people. And, I do find some people who are maybe are scientific materialistic people who, when I say, well, the universe, they can relate to the universe as a physical entity. And I can talk about, well, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways, kind of thing. And they can agree with that statement. And and in it is bridge language that sort of opens us to a transcendent domain that goes beyond the physical. So I do find there are times that I use language as support comments or in discussions with other people, just to find a common ground and working with them about how we might be looking at things working at a bigger and bigger scale than what our small minds can, envelop.
Sure. Yes. And I know I'm pushing back on some of this a lot because I have heard people say things like, well, I don't need to plan for retirement. The universe will just take care of me. Or, I don't need to, and there's a yes and in all. To me, there's a yes and in all of these things. That is it the universe? No. Is our intuition valuable in all of these places? Absolutely. And being connected and meditated and all of those things supports our intuition, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it gives us, and this is the planning part. I'm going to talk about personal accountability separately, but I don't think our minds allow us to do that fully. Very few people's minds can do that. Like I could say, oh, I'm good. The universe will take care of me. I don't need to worry about money. But in the back of my brain, I'm worried about it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so all of that is working against all of that. I mean, we can say all these things, but if we're not really believing and embodying them, and we have that thing going on in our mind, like for me, that would be a drum beat, right? Like, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing? And I don't think it's our job to test the universe and to test our faith and to, test and see, like, be in it, be appreciative, grow and appreciate all the things that you have and want. But let's not put aside our contribution to that. I mean, we're supposed to be meeting this part way, right? And I find all of this interesting in that part of what we teach is that what we vision and what we put out there is what we are creating. But then we use this statement like we have no responsibility and the universe is just gifting us a big package of something, and we're waiting for that.
Yeah.
Where the teaching is actually we create first and things return to us, not we hope. Hope is not a business plan. It's not a retirement plan. It's not an action. It's not an action with the universe. Hope is lack of faith, really, in many ways. So I, again, like it's that I feel like these things sometimes are these rabbit holes that we talk about, right? Like, are we teaching this, or are we teaching have faith and it's all going to come to you? Or are we teaching create a plan and follow your intuition and do what it is that you're called to do to create?
Mm-hmm. What has occurred for me, and it gets to the question that you're posing, is that there is an attraction to some of the language in New Thought when you first come into it that seems to put responsibility off of you and onto the external world, the universe, God, whatever you want to, wherever you're putting it. It's a deflection device. But the more deeply you get into it, you recognize that it teaches really at its deepest level personal responsibility for your own actions, that you through your own thoughts, words, and deeds are manifesting your life. And since you are responsible for what you're manifesting. Now, because of I'm going to call it an immature understanding of New Thought that is attractive to people when they first come in, that they can use some of the language and some of the teachings to deflect responsibility. And that's what I see occurring. I'll give you a good example of it. One of the very meaningful books, that along my spiritual path, we had an episode on these weeks ago, and I think one of us may have mentioned Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Yes.
Even though we don't talk about Chopra a lot lately, but Chopra's book at that time, there was one law in there called the Law of Least Effort. The law of least effort. And so in it, when you read it, it was very easy to interpret that. Well, I don't have to do anything. The universe is just going to provide it.
That's like the secret. I'm just going to put it here on my vision board.
Yeah. And it's come to me. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the deeper and that's an easy, very immature understanding of the point that Chopra was trying to make in that book, or what The Secret was making, although I have my own criticisms about that movie and that book. But what people take is it says all I've got to do is this, and I get out of the way. Now, what there is, from my understanding, just to take it a little deeper with that one example, is that when Chopra is talking about the law of least effort, he's really talking about a dynamic flow that's in the universe that we need to be in alignment with, that there is a harmony between the higher realms of spirit aligning with our mind and our thoughts and our actions with our deeds and words, that we need to get those into an alignment. And when we do, things magically come about. The things seemingly magically come about. Yeah. And the magic is the fact that we took the effort to get into alignment with Spirit's vision for our lives in the world, and we manage to get our thoughts and our actions in alignment with it, which is a very hard thing to do. It's lots of effort, but it's effortless when it's working. And so I give that as an example so that people who look at that and say, well, all I got to do is just, do my vision board and get out of the way. There's a lot more to it. There is the alignment of the thoughts. There is the continuous movement of your consciousness to see yourself in oneness with the universe. There are spiritual practices that take you to seeing yourself connected to a greater spiritual wholeness that calls you away from being focused on the division and divisiveness and the seeming competition in the material world. So there's an uplifting of your consciousness out of the divisiveness and division and multiplicity into the unity of the oneness in the spiritual level, and then to bring that unity back into alignment in how you live in the physical world. Once you do that, it's much like what the Course in Miracles teaches in terms of miracles showing up in your life. But it's easy to describe and is magical when it's working, but it requires a lot of self-control, self-development, self-mastery. And you have to truly master yourself, practice it. And there's so much effort in the practice until you get to the point where it's effortless. But it's easy to take that teaching, and this is my key point, in teachings and other sayings like that, and twist them around and say, well, I don't have to do any effort. It's just going to appear for me. And what they're doing is missing the deeper message of the teaching when they do that.
This reminds me, we have this sort of family joke of about HGTV, and like my brother-in-law will occasionally get in this because my sister will want to do some project and that she saw on HGTV, and in an hour we've completely transformed our bathroom, right? And so it's all you got to do is, we have this thing that we pass. All you got to do is go to Home Depot, pick up these 5 things and magically put them in place. And voila, you have this whole remodeled bathroom in this hour. And what we forget behind is that there's tens of thousands of dollars and years of expertise and practice and people tearing things out behind the scenes and building things behind the scenes. And you forget about all that activity that's not on camera. And I feel like this is kind of the same. We forget about all that activity that is not internal. Mm-hmm. And that is actually requires us to do the internal practice, call it work, whatever you want to call it, but the internal things. And in order for these external things to look magical.
Yeah. It reminds me of the old Steve Martin joke. You know how to become a millionaire? First step 1 is get $1 million.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Simple, right? It's all very simple. And that's it. Yes. Yeah. All you got to do is grab a screwdriver, take the whole thing apart, and then magically it will reappear. And
yeah, but the key thing is that there are aspects that when you get deeper along the spiritual path and truly get into their deeper messages, things do become magical. They do become in the flow, and so there is an aspect to it where the universe does line up for your greatest good. And I know that you've experienced it and I've experienced it, but sometimes to say that, and we can affirm that it's all going to work out. And I do that all the time. I know this is going to work out for the greatest and highest good.
That doesn't mean I sit on my hands.
Exactly.
It means that I pay attention to how is it going to work out? What are the intuitive hits that come my way that would lean it into working out? What are the conversations that I need to have that I actually have and not avoid having, so that all of that gets into motion. The other thing I think that I don't know about you. Well, I do know this about you, I think. And because we've had this conversation, like I have to say, like my vision boarding things of all this material stuff and material access have shrunk a lot. Like the universe has a lot less work to do to make me happy these days in terms of what's in my external life and surroundings, And I think that I hear that from a lot of people. A lot of people between my age and your age. I know you're a little younger than I am. But a lot of people in our age ranges are downsizing and shedding and wanting more experiences with people in their lives and less pursuance of stuff. And I think I know it's happening amongst people over 55 or 60, but I think it's also started. I think that some younger people are starting out that way now.
I agree.
There's a lot more like I would rather go out for beers with my friends than buy a new car,
Yeah.
And
Experiences and relationships become more critical for you as you get older, and less about gathering stuff up.
but I think younger people are getting it.
1,000 books back here.
I know, right? I have a whole section on, financial, abundance things because
I got a whole shelf on how to downsize.
Oh, do you? No. I read one book on that. I got it. And I was like, because you look around and I'm like, well, let's see, my niece is going to get this box of things that she's not going to care about at all. So I might as well get rid of them for her.
But bringing it back to the topic about using the terms universe or similar kinds of words, I don't, people who are listening to what we're discussing, I would invite them to think, if you're using those phrases, just to reflect on what that means for you.
Yeah,
is it and how you're using it? I'm not against using the phrase. And like I've said a couple of times already, I'll use some things that, that sound very woo-woo in a way, but sometimes I'm using them consciously to connect with the person where I think they are. Sometimes I'm using them because I'm understanding the deeper alignment that's occurring and the actions that are needed behind things. I'm not using it as, well, I don't have to do anything, or I'm throwing my hands up and divorcing myself from any kind of personal responsibility here. I don't use it in that way. And I think if a person sees their use of the word, the universe is doing this for me, or the universe is aligning for me, or any kind of the phrases like I used earlier, that they should just reflect on what that means for them and what their role is in that as well, and make sure they're not seeing themselves as divorcing themselves from personal responsibility.
I think I use it too sometimes as you're speaking, as a reminder and as sort of a connection for myself. Like when I say something like that, it comes with a deep breath reminder of being in a flow state and desiring flow state, not setting some expectation that, the universe is going to rain $1 million down on my head through my ceiling, but to be in connection with the idea of enoughness and connection in my life, and how that all the ways, the myriad of ways that might show up and play in my experience. So, I think sometimes those can be good reminder things too, but
yeah, there's like catchphrases or I know for myself, there's little mantras, you will pass, things like that I will say that are just like memory joggers.
Yeah.
When I'm immersed in and giving my power over to the external world and the story that's out picturing in front of me, that sometimes I have to step back and say, okay, no, there's more at play here, and I can turn away from what I'm looking at and know there's a greater picture. And having a little phrase like that, this too will pass, or the universe has my back, or whatever your phrase is, it's a good, just a switch to reorient yourself in the moment. And speaking of reorienting ourselves in the moment, maybe in this moment, we might
reorient to the New Thought Media Network.
That's right, because this program comes to you through the resources of the New Thought Media Network, a nonprofit, and we hope that you support them. Please listen to this message, and we'll say a little bit more about it afterwards.
We hope you're enjoying Conversations in Mind. This program is made possible by the New Thought Media Network, a nonprofit that's supporting conscious, spiritual media. If you'd like to support this work, just scan the QR code to make a donation. It lets the network know you like this show and helps them to continue bringing you this type of content. You can also go to ntmedia.org and click on Donate. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Now, back to the show.
Yes. Thank you to the New Thought Media Network. And you can scroll back in this recording and catch that QR code. And if you use that particular code, it not only supports the New Thought Media Network, but it lets them know that you've appreciated this program. And we love and appreciate all that support for them and for us. We also really welcome your comments and your likes and your shares and all of those things. We try to catch any comments and respond, and we're always open to ideas for our next program. So let's talk about, though, the other part of this, which was accountability. Because I do feel like sometimes in people's young stages of growth, that there's a use of this to avoid personal accountability. Like, I don't have to show up on time because, oh, the universe just didn't give me the energy today, or the universe this, or the universe I don't know. I've even heard it because you and I share this. We've both done ethics for Centers for Spiritual Living. And I've even heard it in that, like, well, it was just healing. I was in my healing. And I'm like, you don't get to do your healing on other people. So, so I don't know that there's a lot to say about that, except no, just no, like, own your actions, we get to own our actions, and then we get to see those, what comes back. But I don't think we get a pass on owning our actions because the universe was not with us on the day that we decided to rob the bank.
And we need to remember that the universe includes every expression of the one, which is every other person, which a person who makes that statement that, well, it's okay for me to be late for a meeting with you because the universe, let me sleep this morning, or anytime that I'm putting off personal responsibility, there's usually a flip side of that where I'm doing something that's counterproductive or counter to another person.
That's true.
And so I'm saying I'm more valuable than you are because the universe told me that I could do this, and that overweighed me doing what I should have been doing in terms of being responsive and to you and your needs. And so it's sort of, there's an egotistical aspect to it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
It really does take us to looking at, well, my needs are more important than other people's needs. I think I've used in prior shows, there's a quote I love by Holmes. I'm going to paraphrase it, but he says, how do you know any decision is good? The decision provides more life, love, and goodness into life without harming another person.
Yeah.
So it's good to always remember that we want to live by the golden rule. We want to live by treat others like you want to be treated. There's a reason that is one of the common threads of every faith that's ever existed, including New Thought, is an undercurrent that we treat others. If we are all one, why would I not want to treat you with love and dignity and respect? And if my selfish actions that I'm giving blame to the universe on is harming you, then I'm breaking down in my understanding of unity and oneness. Instead, I should be doing whatever I can to uplift you. If anything, the universe should be telling you to be on time and to support the other person and uplift the other person to live the greatest and highest life that they can be. How can you be of service to other people? How can you be somebody who's expressing your creative talents in a way that uplifts the planet? That's where the universe really should be. And in fact, if you listen to your intuition fully and honestly, that's what it's trying to do and guide you into, is to find your core purpose in life and to live it in a way of service to the planet and the whole. That's what we're here for. That, as well as remembering our truth and oneness and all it is. But if we're using the universe as an excuse, like you're talking about, unfortunately, it's kind of a narcissistic behavior in a way.
Yeah, and now it shows up. I mean, there's this quip that just flies around every once in a while that, if God has the same racism that you do, and if God has the same biases that you do, then that's your ego. It's not, there's no God in that. It's
Right.
your ego, running rampant, on other people. So, I mean, I know that this all sounds obvious, right? And as we're saying it, I'm like, well, this is just obvious, and then it's not somehow sometimes. And
Well, we get mesmerized by this world of form. Stuff goes on in the world, and we want to be in control. We want to feel comfortable. We want to know that things for my life as Mark are going to work out. And I have to, although early on in my spiritual development, I might be taking personal responsibility and still seeing myself in line of the universe. As you grow in your recognition of oneness, you start recognizing that you become less about your own personal needs. It gets back to the fact that we're less about stuff and more about relationships.
Mhm.
We're also looking to seeing how our interconnectedness calls us to be connected to other people, because we see everybody else as a reflection of ourselves. Everybody is a reflection of the one. And we want to, and the love we feel from others, and we want to give that love back. We want to be in that flow of love and giving and receiving and uplifting everyone. But sometimes when we're in our early stages of spiritual development, when we first start going from being a victim to being somebody who controls things, our control tries to say, well, I'm going to just see the universe as a big vending machine, and I'm going to sit back and put, my little mental quarters in and pull the handle, and it's going to just throw stuff at me. And we don't really understand the true workings of the universe. What happens for many people in those cases is they either say their life doesn't line up like they want, and they say this is a bunch of crap, and they believe New Thought.
Yeah.
Or they develop on, and they realize that it's really a deeper teaching than just about, as you say, parking spaces and
Princess palaces and parking spaces. Yeah.
Thank you. It's
Princess
more than
palaces and parking spaces. Yes.
yes.
Yeah. It's the yes and, right?
Yeah.
It continues to be the yes and. Yes, there is a greater expression of life available to all of us. Yes, there's abundance available to all of us. Yes, there are all these things out there, and it is really about the internal work first,
Mm-hmm.
and giving first, and connecting first, and all the things with I've said repeatedly for years, the universe requires us to go first, and always has, and that's just how it works. So that's those things of, you got to step out a bit in that faith and trust and pixie dust, and and then follow up.
Right.
Right.
But I think we can also recognize it's a natural step. If we're living a life that's not, all we're seeing and experiencing is lack and pain and sorrow and so forth, that a natural first step is a shift in that material life.
Absolutely.
And so it's not, we're not trying to paint anybody wrong here. We're just saying there is a step there that is a natural step from being a victim and feeling lack to feeling empowered and feeling in control. But if that control and power is only being used for personal aggrandizement and personal riches, and we are throwing off to the universe and using it as an excuse for our own personal role in this growth, then we're misunderstanding at the deeper level what the teachings are about. When we get to the level where we start seeing the universe working through us as us, then we start letting go of things, and we say, yes, the universe is working for us, but it's working for everyone. And there's a role that I have to play, and I have to show up with my responsibility in that role. So it's not throwing away our sense of personal responsibility to something else. It's claiming our responsibility, claiming it by acting and thinking and speaking in alignment with what we know is the greater truth of oneness, where everybody's valuable and everybody's important. And the more that we can live in that space of seeing the unity of everything and being in alignment with that flow, then we start experiencing that magical a harmony of life being lined up for us that is spoken of, but is not truly embodied until we get to the point of releasing attachments to our own small ego and being for the greater good for the all. And then we can be, and then do our actions.
Yeah.
Do what, treat and move our feet, as we like to say.
Yeah.
It's speak our prayers, say our truths, but follow through with our personal responsibility, our planning, our actions, and responsibilities.
Move towards it, move into it, move with it, but move. And and honestly, like, that's a beautiful way to kind of sum some of this up, Mark. I mean, the life that we want to create, the life that we dream, and the life that we love is there. It's not like we're saying, oh, you can't have these things. And you're right. The step is necessary to learn to create in that way, and then to learn to actually live in that very interesting space between control and creation and surrender.
Right.
Which is sometimes it's a hard word sometimes, but when you sense that flow of energy and you sense that connection, it's easier to surrender into it, and then still take the actions that it calls within you. It's all the intuitive thing, and the movement into that. Call it the universe, call it intuition, call it all of that together, working together.
Yes.
It's the heart work.
Right.
For sure.
We're in a dynamic dance with the universe between wanting to control for our personal needs to being surrendering for the greater and higher good. And when we can find the right balance between our actions and surrender, then we get into a real flow of things just showing up magically for us. It is there. Mm-hmm. It is. But we can get out of alignment too. Even when you've been there, you can lose it because you either swing too much to just putting it off to the universe to take care of you, or trying to be someone who's controlling it for your own personal experiences.
And we flow in and out of it naturally.
Right.
Anybody who's grown and in that is sometimes going to warp out of it in warp speed sometimes. Like, if something happens in your family or to someone you care about, or to yourself, and you get a pullback, and then we get to learn it again. And hopefully as we're learning it again, we learn it more deeply. But it is I think, it's that thing. If we really had all these things mastered, we wouldn't be here anymore. So, so we continue to morph in and out of them.
Yes. Practice.
Practice. And then love. Practice and love. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is good. I'm glad we took this one on. I look forward to people's comments about this. Actually, I think we might have pushed some buttons on this one today. So I look forward to that conversation. And we look forward. I don't know. I'm wrapped up. Are you wrapped up? I know we're a little fast today. So
the universe said for me to let it go.
The universe said we could let this go today.
Let me check in with the universe. Oh, I'm complete.
I'm complete. All right. So we appreciate your time and your attention and your listening and your comments. And we look forward to seeing you in the following week.